She prescribed me on Friday. I took the medicine on Tuesday at 2:35 a.m. What I did do on Friday, I started taking... So let's talk. Let's get down dirty and... Okay, let's not do it like that. Let's talk. Let's get up close and personal. But before we get a little too close and personal, I just want to put a trigger warning out for this episode, because in this episode we are going to be talking about pregnancy and miscarriages, medicated miscarriages, Mistoprosol medication, or Cytotec, another name for this medication. And yeah, we're going to get into some details that might be a little TMI, a little bit of graphic detail, but I think it's good for others to know, for those who want to either educate themselves or who may be going through a similar situation or about to go through a similar situation. I thought this episode was very necessary. And I think it's a little therapeutic for me as well. So I would definitely say please check your mental fortitude before you get into this episode, especially if you are a pregnant person, a woman trying to get pregnant, anything around the nature that might give you any added stress, anxiety, intrusive thoughts, then maybe just save this for a different time, okay? Last time we spoke, I was on my way out. I was supposed to be catching a flight to Florida for one of my best friend's baby shower, but unfortunately my flight got canceled that morning of, and there were no flights to get me to her baby shower in time. Chad and Levi were already out in Jersey, like an hour or so away at his aunt's house. So when I was able to get the moment to film, it was like right when he was coming to pick me up early in the morning, because I was no longer going to Florida and it didn't make sense for me to stay home by myself at the time. So I had told you guys that pretty much, this is on a slower note and I can give more detail on what happened. Yes, while we were in Mexico, I was starting to already feel like, something's like with my body. Like I was feeling symptoms, right? I was just feeling like, something not right in my body. But in my thought process, I'm like, but I haven't missed a period yet, so I'm not even gonna, like, there's nothing for me to check. I knew in my mind that I was supposed to get my period while I was on vacation at least. So that's kind of on the back of my brain, right? However, by day 2, my phone breaks, so I have no tracker, no anything anyway. Also, while I was there, the bathing suits that I had just bought, like, they were fitting me just differently. Like, it was like I had already, like, had a little pudge. And even Chad mentioned, like, you know, like, yeah, like, you're looking different. Now, again, like I had stated before, I do go to CrossFit, you know, and yeah, I had skipped a few days or whatever, like over the month, but not enough for my clothes to fit differently. And I hadn't been like eating cookies or anything like that, because usually I make cookies once a week from scratch, and then every night I'll just bake myself 2 little cookies as my little unwind. But I hadn't been doing that for weeks, and that should have been my first indication that something was different, because this is my normal routine and now I just haven't had it for weeks. So while we're on vacation, we needed to stop by the convenience store and to get more toothpaste. So while I was there, and Chad was outside, he didn't know, but while the toothpaste and the pregnancy test were right next to each other, go figure. So I'm like, let me just grab this and I'm gonna just decide when I'm gonna take it. So I let it be. And by the end of vacation, which you guys also will see, I literally had a dream that last night, like, you're pregnant, call the doctor. And now when I'm thinking about it, and I kept saying, and I don't know if I explained it before, but I think I did, is where the voice was very direct, like, you're pregnant, call the doctor. Like, okay. So that's what I did. Preliminary, appointment. I know that you have to, when you're pregnant, your first appointment, usually you have to do blood work. You're probably having to do a pelvic exam or pap smear. and all those things. So I called the doctor immediately. I also know in my mind that I may or may not be able to get an ultrasound right away because usually, again, they want you to wait to a certain amount of weeks. And so at this point, we're like 6 weeks. So we're thinking that it would be maybe 6 weeks, which I'm like, oh, my last period was June 19th, Juneteenth. I remember, whatever. But I remember that specifically. We have our cup of comfort here, okay? I love coffee. Okay, positive pregnancy test, going on about our way. I get to the doctor a couple days later. What is this, Wednesday? And we did all the paperwork. Blood work. We did talk about all the things that we know are to come, because for me, my previous pregnancy ended up being a high-risk pregnancy. I had to get a cerclage. We'll get more into that later. However, they were not able to get me into getting an ultrasound for 2 more weeks. That is not uncommon. Usually in the first trimester, they just need you to get an ultrasound before you're week 13 or 14 so they can do certain things. Anytime before then, it's not usually like an emergency, I guess, but you do want to confirm that your pregnant is viable. Your pregnancy, like, you want to confirm a heartbeat at least, right? So they couldn't see me for two more weeks because we were having a hard time confirming when my last period actually was. I was going off June 19th, right? However, and I confirmed it later once I got my phone, because even when I went to the doctor, I still hadn't gotten a phone yet. Anyhow, so I'm at the doctor and we couldn't quite confirm if my last period was June 19th or May 19th. Why? Because that June 19th period quite literally was really, like, when I was trying to remember back to it, I was like, it was really short and light. And there is this thing called implementation bleeding, which it would fall around the time of your period, and you would think that it might just be a short, light period, but really it's the implementation of you getting pregnant, the sperm and the egg and all that in the uterus. Don't quote me. I'm no doctor or OBGYN, but I did take biology. There was a time I thought I was going to be a doctor. We're not going to get into that. It's okay. Boom. However, implementation bleeding can do a little tricksy on you. So I was like, wait a minute. When I'm trying to schedule the ultrasound for 2 more weeks, she's like, yeah, well, either you're going to be pretty much 8 weeks when I see you, or you're going to be 12 weeks when I see you. Either way is fine. For whom? 2 weeks, I'm sitting here not knowing if I'm 6 weeks or 10 weeks. That's absurd. So, but whatever. Understood. So I left the doctor, and my doctor is in Jersey, so he's not down the street. Now it's Thursday. I go to get an ultrasound at a clinic close to my house. There's usually free women's clinics or clinics where you can pay out of pocket to get some type of ultrasound to confirm your pregnancy. So I ended up going to a clinic the day after seeing my doctor. So it was actually really great. It was inside, like, I was in and out, only person there. The ultrasound tech, Maxie, she was great. Very, very informative, she knew what she was doing. So took care of me. They both spoke to me great. They asked a lot of great questions. So she was predicting, she was like, from what we're talking, you would actually probably be 10 weeks. But we hadn't done an ultrasound yet. So I was like, okay, that could make sense why my body is feeling like this, why, there were certain symptoms I had, but it wasn't enough to make me think anything. Like, I was pretty much going on with life as per usual. It was like, you might actually be 10 weeks pregnant, but let's go and check. So when she checked, she's like, oh, I see the sac immediately. She was like, yeah, this is a pretty large sac, but then we weren't seeing, like, she wasn't seeing, well, I guess an embryo to have the heartbeat. And she was like, you know what, let's go in. So that was the belly ultrasound. So she was like, let's go in, which means the transvaginal ultrasound, which is where they stick a probe and they see from there into the vagina. So I'm very used to those too because of Levi's pregnancy. But she did confirm that this pregnancy, there was no heartbeat. She confirmed that it was a amniotic sac, meaning there was no embryo that they see, or a viable pregnancy. She confirmed that I was measuring 7 weeks, 4 days. And now, the way that your body does work, that even if I was 10 weeks, your body, like my body could have started already actually trying to get rid of the pregnancy, but it just hadn't gotten to the point where I'm actually bleeding out and doing things. So it's chipping away at it little by little. But yeah, so she was measuring that I was 7 weeks, 4 days, and she was like, yeah, I should be able to hear a heartbeat. I should be able to hear a heartbeat. She's like, I've been doing this for 15 years. But even from my non-trained eye, I could see there was nothing going on. So body is thinking you're pregnant, growing and doing the things, but something just didn't check out. And, you know, I've been through this before, so it's just like, damn. So the next day I was able to then do a follow-up with their doctors at their main women's clinic. Tried me 800 milligrams of Mistoprosol, which is a pregnancy termination pill, or it could be considered a medicated miscarriage in this scenario, seeing how my body was already most likely expelling it and was going to expel it fully at some point, but it could have been at any moment, at that moment, or in the next few weeks. Who would have known? It just would have happened when the time came. So instead of us doing the waiting game, it was, let me prescribe this. This is going to soften your cervix to open and to contract your uterus and to expel the pregnancy, and that'll happen within pretty much 24 hours. So I have had 2 miscarriages. In the medical world, technically 3 pregnancies, 1 child. Yeah. So I've been pregnant 3 times. I have produced 1 child, not all in the same time, but I have 2 different experiences. The first miscarriage was just completely natural. Didn't know it was happening, didn't know it was coming, and then it happened. This one, they caught that the pregnancy was not progressing, and they caught it before my body started to completely expel it, and then they gave me a medication to terminate the pregnancy and expel everything, okay? Just to recount, my very first time being pregnant, I miscarried at 7 weeks. And honestly, it's about the same exact week. The same exact weeks. I can't remember if it was 7 weeks and 6 days or 7 weeks and 5 days, but it was something very close to what I was this time. Now, I have been kind of crampy a little bit all day. I remember it like it was last month or last year. I have been cramping a little bit all day, natural, and my body expelled everything by itself. No medication, no nothing. I had no idea it was happening. So I was just shocked, okay? So I've been cramping all day, like little. But we had a flight the next morning at 7 a.m. to go to Atlanta for our cousin's wedding. So I had been doing everything I need to do, doing my hair, but I had been feeling a little crampy, not too crazy, but again, everything I would look up, it says that when you're in pregnancy, you kind of can feel a little crampy the first few weeks. So it's like, all right, cool. Now, by the time the day goes through, I go to bed, and I do remember like, oh, I feel a little bit like crampy, but okay, I just probably need to go to sleep. by the time 3 a.m. comes around, like the cramps are waking me up out of my sleep. And it was to the point where I was like, oh, let me go to the bathroom. I went to the bathroom, I wiped, there was nothing there. But I do remember it felt like really moist. Like, okay, like I'm wiping, but there was nothing, there's no blood, there, like, whatever. But I felt like, okay, this is real moist, like water maybe had come out. But not knowing what was happening, I'm just like, okay, whatever. I then take pain medication because I'm like, wow, I'm really cramping right now. Like, I don't know what's going on. I tried to go to sleep. I was timing it because I'm like, okay, you got maybe like an hour left to sleep before you got to get up to get on the plane. But I couldn't quite sleep. I had to get back up to go to the bathroom. And at this point, I turned the light on. I turn the light on, and usually I never turn the light on to go to the bathroom because I don't want to disturb my sleep. Like, what? You already know how that goes. Anywho, I turn the light on, and it's just like the world was blurring. Like, I was lightheaded. I thought I was going to faint. I was starting to have cold sweats. Like, I'm cold, but I'm sweating. And it was at that point that I had to call out to Chad to wake him up. Like, Chad, like, something is wrong. Something is wrong. I don't know what's wrong, but at this time, I'm not having no blood. So I'm still like, I don't know what's going on. You gotta call somebody. You gotta call somebody. Like, I was in so much pain. But I remember managing to get back into the bed. And then he was calling a nurse line at this moment. Again, no blood, so I'm not, whatever. So he calls the nurse line, and the nurse line, oh wait, well, there was a point I went back to the bathroom, and when I wiped, there was just like a little drop of blood, like, and it wasn't even anything alarming, but I was like, you know what, let me just save this, just if I need to, like, tell a medical professional, like, because the color of blood makes a difference when it's like, if it's this yellow, yellow, if it's super high red, if it's brown, if it whatever. So color of blood makes a difference if it's pink. So I'm like, let me just save this little square. It was not much of anything, but I just like, let me save this little square for a medical professional thing to know. So then I make it back to the bed, and at this point, it's like the pain is ramped up so much. I'm like, yeah, like so Chad is calling the nurse line to try to get some type of like, okay, what do we do? What's going on? Like, is this normal? Is this not normal? I don't think it's normal because I've never experienced pain like that in my life. And the nurse was like, yeah, no, you gotta go to a hospital or something. Like, if she's in pain like this, you gotta go to the hospital, whatever. So then we get off the phone, and Chad was like, what you want to do? Like, you want to go to the hospital? I was like, call an ambulance. And he was like, what? Because I'm not usually one to, like, get up in arms about pain. Like, I don't panic, like, a lot. Especially outwardly. Like, it's not for, like, I usually can kind of think through my emotions. It's the Capricorn in me, okay? I can think through my emotions, but depending on, like, okay, so for me to sit here and tell Chad I want him to call an ambulance, that was significant for him, okay? And he was like, we can get you in a car. Like, we can get you to the car and get you to the, like, can you make it? I can carry you. And when I was like, I just remember telling him, like, I cannot move. I can't move. Even the thought, I was trying to think of, can I even put my foot from the bed to the floor? And I couldn't. Like, it was that debilitating. I just was there, just holding on to the sheets, like, for dear life, like, Jesus, please. I just remember thinking, like, what is this? Like, God, somebody tell me why. I couldn't think straight. I kept thinking this is worlds ahead type of pain. Like, I've never experienced anything like this. I was just sweating. I was thinking, but I couldn't think. And I just knew there wasn't in any realm was I trying to have Chad scooped me up and walked me down these stairs because we live in a third floor walk up at the time. So yeah, he could get me, but I just like, it's winter. No, it's not winter. It's September. It's not winter at all. I lied. I don't know why I'm thinking it's that. But I just was like, I can't, you know, and what it felt like for me when I had to, like, I did a lot of processing later on in life, but I just was like, yo, it felt like there was something just wringing me out, like from the waist down, just taking every bit of me and just wringing it, like as much as they possibly could, like trying to just get every drop of blood out of me, or also like a chastity belt just being cranked tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter, and just like squeezing the living life in my back, in my uterus, like just it was very much intense. It was very much intense. And then after maybe, I don't know how long it was, it just eased out of nowhere. And all I thought was, oh my God, the meds must have kicked in. Wow, these meds, it was only like maybe 600, 800 milligrams of, I don't know, Tylenol. But I just remember, wow, these meds just kicked in heavy. Thank you, God. So then the ambulance came, and they didn't take me because the pain had stopped. And I was like, I guess the meds have kicked in, so I'm good now, you know? And they were like, oh yeah. And they were like, honestly, they checked my blood pressure, my vitals. They were like, you're good. You know, first time pregnant. I was like, yeah. They were like, yeah, pregnancy is really weird. They do all, like, you have all these like weird symptoms out of nowhere. It's totally normal for weird things to happen. So I'm like, okay, cool. We're good then, okay? So we went ahead and got on our flight. Went to the airport. And when I was at the airport, I was like, I have to use the restroom. And when I went to the restroom, that's when the blood came. The tissue came. Everything just came all out. So the body expelled the pregnancy by itself. No pain medication. I guess it's essentially going into labor, just not with a full human child. I think that's kind of what it was. So speaking of the next time I got pregnant, immediately, I had that miscarriage in September. I was pregnant in October with Levi. The doctor had told me, she said, let me tell you, you're going to be real fertile for the next month. She's like, you'll probably get pregnant in the next few months because you're going to be you're going to be really fertile now. I don't know why. Maybe, I think when I researched it, they say you already have some levels of HCG in you. I'm not really sure. Don't get me to lie to you. I'm not a doctor or a scientist. Unfortunately, you are a person to have had a miscarriage. You can get pregnant. And, you know, it is possible to be able to get pregnant right away if that is your goal. But if that's not your goal, be careful. Don't get crazy. Don't get silly. If that's not your goal, don't get crazy. Don't be silly, okay? So, but if it is your goal, take your time. Do what's best for you. Don't rush it. Now, let's get into this miscarriage. This experience was different in the sense that, hey, I knew it was to come. I knew what was happening. Once they found out there was no heartbeat, no, viable pregnancy that was going to progress, I immediately was like, I was very nervous. I was very nervous and I was very scared. Those were my leading emotion was, I was sad that I was having to go through this experience. this again, that I was having to go through a miscarriage. Having a miscarriage the first time and then having a miscarriage the same set of weeks around the same time of year too feels oddly the same. And then also going in knowing that whenever I do get pregnant with the second child, I will then have to go through all of those same steps that I went through with Levi, as in getting a cerclage and being on some type of bed rest, pelvic rest for a portion of the pregnancy. Very much feeling like, oh my God, this is the exact thing that happened to me the first time. Different because now we see it and now we know what is to come. So now we have other avenues to prepare. I gotta go through this again. Why me? So a little bit of that. I was very, very scared and nervous of the actual process, the physical process of having to terminate a pregnancy or expel a pregnancy. I've been through it once. It wasn't fun. So now you're saying I got to do this again? And every time you look it up on the internet, it says it's worse because now this is a medicated situation. So cramping is worse, the bleeding is heavier, all of the things. So I'm like, huh? Oh, that's what would bring me to tears. That's the part that brought me to tears. Like, I have to do this again, and I know I'm gonna survive, and I know I will be okay at the end of the day, but like, oh my God, like, it's been 4 years since I've had a miscarriage, and you can see how clearly I can recount that day. I can see the whole scene in my head. So of course trying to go through this again is not something that I'm thrilled about, but you do what you gotta do to get where you're trying to go. So got prescribed on Friday, did a little research about the medication and things. It wasn't really uplifting, but from what I could find. However, I have good news for you because I did do a few things that I do think helped, and it was definitely better experience. How about it was a less painful one, okay? So what I did was when the doctor prescribed me the 800 milligrams of the intravaginal Mistoprosol. Two options. You can take it orally, but I think it's like you have to put it under your tongue or in your cheek and let it dissolve into your body that way. But I was like, no, if we're gonna do this, let's do this. So what did I do as far as doing the medicated miscarriage, how I managed it, and how I managed the pain? Mistoprosol, I hope I'm saying it right, Mistoprosol or Cytotec. She prescribed me on Friday. I took the medicine on Tuesday at 2:35 a.m. What I did do on Friday, I started taking ibuprofen already. I started taking a little doses of pain medication. So on Friday, I took 400 milligrams of ibuprofen. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Okay? So that's 4 days. I took 400 milligrams of just over-the-counter ibuprofen. I did that because when I was researching about things like, periods and this medication, there was a doctor online or whatever that was saying that if you're someone who gets back period cramps, you should start taking pain medication 2 days before your period, and it'll definitely lessen your period cramps because you'll already have, and you're gonna have a baseline, right? I did that. Now, I was off on Tuesday and Wednesday because once you insert the pain medication, it takes 4 to 12 hours to kick in. And then once it kicks in, you could be doing the process for 24 hours. So what I did was I was timing it for when my kid was at school, my husband was in the house, I didn't have no work, and that way I could sleep partially through the beginning of the ramp up. And now I did that because, and my husband did make a very valid point, because I was like, I'm trying to figure out, should I take it at night? Should I take it in the morning? I don't want Levi to be around while I'm like, I naturally wake up around 2:30 to 3:30 a.m. every night to kind of pee. So I did it then. Placed the medication at 2:30. I also took 800 milligrams of ibuprofen at 2:30. Okay. If it's going to take 4 hours at best, so that means at 6:30, it's probably going to be really in the works. And that's what I would read. People would say around hour 3 and 4, it started picking up. I wanted to at least be able to sleep to that ramp up. Why didn't I do it in the middle of the night? Because there's going to be a part of the pain where you just can't sleep through it. And this is where Chad's logic came in. He was like, there's going to be a part of the night you're not going to be able to sleep through the pain. So, and then you're not going to have any distractions because it's in the middle of the night. And you want to sleep, but you can't sleep. You're not going to watch TV, at least during the day. If you do it in if we started at the 2:30 mark like I did, I could sleep probably until 6:45. Levi goes to school, and then the rest of the time, I'm going to be able to just hunker down and bear down. That's exactly what I did. It was the best thing I could have done. I took my medication. I took the Mistoprosol at 2:30. I took 800 milligrams of ibuprofen at 2:30. I also had a heating pad, candy, everything that I could need to be comfortable, I had. I also had bought dill pickle juice because apparently another doctor said that dill pickle juice has so much electrolytes and hydration and stuff. When people take it for their period, it'll help. So I wasn't looking for anything to stop the pain. I was looking for things to dull the pain. So by 6:30, I was up. The medicine was working. I could feel it, but it wasn't unbearable. It was like period cramps. But I could feel my back, my uterus, everything was working. I could definitely feel it. But because I took that pain medication, it definitely kept some of the symptoms at bay. By the time 8:30 came around, when the medication was wearing off, because you can take 800 milligrams every 6 to 8 hours, honey, baby, I was timing it. So when the medication was wearing out at 8:30, I could tell. I was like, ooh, I could feel this. Ooh, I could feel this. So I immediately took medication, I think at 8:24. By the time it started to where the medication was starting to kick in, I think that was probably where the cramping was peaking. But it was still very much okay, I had to use the bathroom a few times. There was a point in time where I got overnight pads. I went through 3. And it does say you should not be going through more than 2 pads in an hour within a 2-hour span, if I'm thinking. Anyway, there was a point in time, I think around 9 o'clock, it was I could feel blood just gushing out. So I would have to keep going to the bathroom. And then around 10 o'clock is when things just came out. And it's you could kind of feel it right before it's coming. You could feel a drop coming, and you're hold on now. Let me go to the bathroom. And then when you go to the toilet, I guess gravity helps do the rest. And then, so that was around 10. So by 10:30, I had felt like the process was pretty much over. I was a little wrong, but for the most part, the event was over by 10:30 a.m. And once it was done, I was like, I survived. I probably used my heating pad for only 10 minutes, and it was really my back. But for me, I'd rather have the back pain than the front pain, because boy, oh boy, it's being hollowed out. I don't know how to explain it, but it's you feel so hollow. Oof. Do think me taking the medication for days before helped. I'm saying, and I can say it was bearable. I was good. I used the heating pad for 10 minutes. I kept every 6 hours, keep on them pain medicine for the whole day. And then after that, I pretty much chilled. I thought it was the main event was over. I had then kept bleeding for days. So started on Tuesday, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So it's been 4 days. And I kind of was still bleeding heavier than I thought I would. But I also kind of kept feeling like there was something. Like, I kept trying to explain to y'all. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I feel like everything is good, but I also feel like there's something like more. Like, I don't, you know. And I was right, because then yesterday more like tissue passed. And now, and all throughout these couple of days, I just been kind of crampy here and there. Not all the time. I haven't even taken pain medication at all since Wednesday. Not all the time, but I had just been crampy here and there. Random cramps. Random. And I'm like, why? Like, and I went and got my nails done yesterday. And even when I was sitting there, my nails, like, my back was really like, okay, like, why? And I was like, maybe I should just take some pain medication. And I ended up going to the bathroom because I'm like, okay, I'm feeling something. And then more tissue had passed. And ever since then, now the bleeding has definitely slowed down. And I haven't felt any like cramps, like random cramps or back cramps here at all. So there's that. So I will say that for me, the better experience was the medicated one that I was able to prepare for. Maybe some of it was my mindset, but I do really believe that having what you need, having the medication beforehand, staying up on medication, having like dill pickle juice, have just certain things that help you to mitigate pain. This probably will work. So now that it's said and done, I feel so much better. I feel like, all right, we're good to go, kind of. Part of me also is like, I'm hoping, I ain't gonna even lie, it ain't even part of me, baby. All of me, okay? All of me is definitely hoping for a Levi type of scenario where I could just immediately get pregnant, because what this miscarriage has taught me, the first one taught me, I really, really do want this baby. I want this baby. I'm ready. Like, yes, I'm ready, and I'm ready to move forward. I want to make a family. This miscarriage has taught me I'm ready to hang up my childbearing years. Childbearing years, I'm ready to let it go. I want to close this chapter. Put it on the shelf, okay? That's what I want to do in my childbearing years. It is not my golden time. It is not my golden years. And that's okay. I am very fine with it. Every area of your life can't be your golden. Well, you feel me? And this one isn't mine. Okay? Some people, they just get pregnant easy, baby. They be popping them out, pop. Don't even. Anyway. Some people just be popping them out. It's very easy. But for a lot of women, it's not. That's not the case. So yes, this miscarriage has definitely put in the perspective that I definitely want to close the chapter on my childbearing years. I understand where I'm at in motherhood. I'm very comfortable in my position in motherhood, in the sense that I definitely do want a second child, but also if it doesn't work out naturally, then I'm okay with that. I'm okay if Levi has to be the only child. And I just mean that in the sense that I'm down to try again. I am hoping that we do have another Levi event where I could just hurry up and get pregnant, get in, get out, because yes, there's going to be some things in store for me when I'm pregnant. I just want to get through this. Okay, like, remember the theme song for the pregnancy. We got a theme song for the pregnancy. I remember that 2000 song, I Gotta Get Through This, by Daniel Bedingfield. I gotta get through this. I gotta get through this. Gotta make that one. Yeah, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. That's the pregnancy song. I gotta get through this. Yes, baby, I gotta get through this. And then once I have my baby in the prize, the end. And round of applause. because then we will be done. Okay, I cannot wait. So I am praying and hoping and wishing for a quick turnaround like last time. That's going to be my mission. Okay, so if I pop up pregnant in a couple months, don't even act surprised. Be like, bitch, you said it. exactly, because you know I'm about my business. Anywho, so I am hoping for that. But at that same time, you know, I've had very real conversations with myself, very real conversations with my husband. And, you know, I told him I only got like 2 more times to try. Okay. I said I could really, I'm down to try again now. Like, I'm down to try again right away. Like, I'm cool to do that. But if, God forbid, it does not work out this time, I'm probably going to take a break. I'm probably going to just chill out. Whenever I feel to try again, I will. But I am not one to, like, I don't want a second child enough to try to do like a IUI or an IVF situation if it came down to it. That's for me. I think it's an amazing route for people to use, but for me, that's not something that I'm willing to physically put myself through to produce another child. I was about to say to produce another heir. And then also, I'm not willing to continually put myself through just multiple miscarriages back to 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 back. It's not something that, no. So the first time was its time, and I didn't think this was gonna happen again this time, and look at where we are. It's nothing, and as they say, you know, when it's this early, it's usually a chromosome thing. Like, it's like the chromosomes aren't lined up. It's not gonna be a good, you know, this was a, damn, I was gonna say a rough draft, but you know, dark humor. Rough draft, honey. But clearly my body say it every time. Rough draft ain't wrong. Rude. Anyway, so I'd rather it be that way. And also, you know, I will say this, and this is like I said before, this is not to diminish my own experiences at all. But at the same time, I am very aware that it is the most natural thing in the world. The most natural thing in the world is not the easiest thing. It is definitely not the easiest thing for every woman. It is actually quite difficult to bring life into the world. And I have had my experiences, but there are women who are battling far heavier fertility wars, really. Issues and things. There are women who are clinging to hope or no longer, you know, who have cried more tears than I have, and really, and like I said, and it's not to invalidate my experience, because there's also multiple women who are going through what I'm going through, but it's also just to put it in perspective, like, you know, this shit ain't easy, and people make it seem like it's easy, and it's not. And it's not your fault if it's not easy and it's more difficult for you, or whatever the case may be. And my heart just always goes out, because it is, especially the way that we're groomed, and our importance and value comes with reproduction. Whole other conversation for a different day. But it is just to say that, you know, if you are struggling, you are seen, you are heard. I feel for you. If you cry about it every day, I understand why. And then alternatively, for those who have accepted and like, hey, look, this ain't my rodeo, this is not my ministry, honey, I feel you on that too. So, you know, I think, and if you guys need me to make a whole separate video about the process with Levi, and yeah, I'm gonna make a separate video. It's not about, it's just if you guys want it now, or should I wait? So let me know if you made it this far. If you want me to make the a video about the high-risk pregnancy, the cerclage, postpartum preeclampsia. Like, I could just do that whole one video. I could do it now if you guys prefer, since we're on the topic of motherhood and pregnancy. But if not now, I will probably do it more along when I get pregnant again, because there's going to be a lot of reoccurring themes, and I can talk about it then. So, and honey, that might not be right now, but it could be. Anywho. So thanks for listening to this story. If you guys have any questions, I'm super happy to answer. Yeah, I'm very open. You could ask me anything. I'm not too like sensitive like you, and you got like, I'm not about to cry about it. I don't think so. Maybe, but no, I'm not really about to. I'm not super emotional about it right now anymore. And not that I was super emotional before, but I'm emotionally stable to answer any questions that you guys have. Like, there's not really any question that's too TMI to me, because I think that a lot of these things and stories will help other women. Definitely helpful. And honestly, sharing information, I realize, especially sharing an experience like this, is very therapeutic for me. I'm not, it's the Capricorn in me, but I feel things deeply, but I'm not super emotional. So sometimes, like, the lack of tears, it doesn't mean that I'm not feeling it. It just means that I'm probably processing it, or now I'm in a place where I can talk about it and it's already processed, and that means that we could talk about it, because yes. Thanks, guys. Also, if this conversation was helpful for you, please like and subscribe if you already aren't a subscriber. And if this video can be helpful to someone that you know, please pass it along. Send it to a friend, send it to a family member who you feel might need to hear this, or might be ready for this conversation. And please like, share, and subscribe. See you guys next time.